Choosing what to watch.
Night after night.
The flicking through.
The endless searching is a nightmare.
We want to help you.
On our brand new podcast, Off the Telly, we share what we've been watching. Gladiators.
Loads of games, loads of fun, loads of screaming. Lovely.
Off the Telly with me, Joanna Page.
And me, Natalie Cassidy. So your evenings can be a little less searching.
And a lot more watching.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Phil Goodlad and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, keeping you up to speed on everything you need to know about our beautiful game. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of April. Here's what's coming up today.
Tavernier! In it goes this time! Despite Will Fitton's best efforts on the line, Tavernier on the volley, smashes it home!
Does record-breaking Rangers captain James Tavernier get the credit he deserves? And speaking of records...
The journey that I've been on, it's been a roller coaster, as is any kind of player's career. There's been lots of ups and downs.
It's 500 not out. We'll hear from Joelle Murray about reaching an incredible landmark for Hibs. And...
McGowan into the middle, and Bakayoko's there! Amadou Bakayoko slides in to put Dundee ahead again at McDermott Park.
We get the inside track on the battle to avoid 11th place in the Premiership.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Great to have you along this morning. I'm joined by the Hibs captain Joelle Murray and Ryan McGowan, St Johnstone and Australian defender. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Morning, Phil.
As ever, lots to get through with Ryan and Joelle, including wishing Joelle happy birthday of sorts. Not a birthday, but 500 not a... Joelle, when I say you've played 500 games, does that just sound ridiculous in the modern era to have played that amount with one club?
Yeah, I guess it does, Phil. I think there's been a lot of discussions around my appearances, because I think, especially in the early stages of the women's game, it was quite difficult to kind of find anything to report or any consistency in terms of reporting. So recently there has been a lot of discussions around about the appearances, and I think marking Sunday's game with my 500th appearance makes me feel a little bit old. You mentioned my birthday. I'm glad it's certainly not my birthday. Being a large number, but it's a remarkable achievement, especially in the modern day game, because it's difficult to find, I think, players of similar ilk.
Ryan, I'll get you to play the game of Guess Joelle's age in just a moment, because I'm certainly not going to go there. For now, though, let's run through the latest Scottish football headlines. It's 10th versus 6th in the Championship tonight. Airdrie looking to get back into the playoff positions as they travel to take on Arbroath. The Rangers forward Sam Lammers, who's currently enjoying a successful loan spell at FC Utrecht, has insisted his struggles at Ibrox were down to him not being played as a striker. Celtic have been linked with a summer move for the highly rated Armenian playmaker Edward Spertsayan. And Billy Gilmore has given Scotland a boost ahead of the Euros. The midfielder picked up a knee injury in the friendly defeat to Northern Ireland last week. He's now expected to be back in action before the end of the month. Ryan, 500 games for one particular club. I mean, 500 games in the modern day age is a feat. Is that something that you feel we've maybe lost a little bit over the last few years? That one club player, the one player that you can actually, as a supporter, align to and almost signpost a great chunk in your life. I can imagine Hibs fans thinking, yeah, I remember when Joelle started and wow, she's still there.
Yeah, I just think it's an incredibly remarkable achievement. I think you should be so proud of doing that. Like you said, the women's game has come along so much in the recent 5-10 years, but to be involved with one club for 500 games, no matter what you're doing, is a remarkable achievement, and you should be not only really proud of yourself, but I'm sure your family are super proud of you and all the Hibs fans. And Hibs have a relatively good record. If you look at the men's team with Louis Stevenson and Paul Hanlon, I know people that have seen or have almost grown up watching them, whether that they be Lewis be a couple of years older or the similar age, breaking through when they're 17, 18, and then, coming through their teenage years, their 20s, their 30s, and now they're getting older. And I do think that's good for clubs in terms of having those types of players that have been around for a long time. But it's just so rare with the turnover of managers. The fans don't have a sort of, they want instant success. One bad game means that they've passed it, or means that they've lost their legs. There's so many different variables that go into that. But I do like it when a player shows a bit of loyalty to a club and a club shows a bit of loyalty to a player. I think it's a nice touch and something that's maybe getting a little bit lost.
Yeah, and we've lost that, Joelle, now, haven't we? That as I mentioned, the one club player. And I know football moves on, and it's a much more transactional relationship now between players and clubs. But yet, as a fan, I quite like to see familiar faces at a club over a certain period of time.
Yeah, and I think it's like you said, in the modern day game, it's few and far between now. So it's quite remarkable that we as a club have, like Ryan said, we've got Paul and Lewis, and I think it's a fantastic point that Ryan made. It's even more difficult now considering the transition of managers, because a manager comes in and he doesn't fancy, he doesn't like you, then that's a massive uncontrollable. So for players, especially in the men's game, for players like Lewis and Paul to have kind of reached the milestones that they've reached under multiple managers, I think just shows their professionalism off the pitch, on the pitch, and certainly their quality. That time and time again, managers have come and gone, and certainly picked them in the starting 11.
It's going to be a very interesting book that you write when you hang up your boots, because there are few players now that can talk us through the transition between what was effectively, and forgive me for saying this, it wasn't even part-time football. It was almost like a hobby, because Scottish football, both the governorship, the media, the fans, we didn't, I don't think, view the women's game in the same merits as the men's game. So actually, when you're speaking about amateur football, it wasn't even that when you weren't getting paid, because we're used with amateur men's football, but the women's game was just so far detached from that when you started. So it's a massive change that you've seen over the 500 games.
Yeah, absolutely is, Phil. I think the evolution of the game, the wider game, and certainly the club has been massive. And the journey that I've been on, it's been a roller coaster, as is any kind of player's career. There's been lots of ups and downs, but I think if I remember back to when I first started, we were falling under the banner of Hibs. We wore the strip, which were pass-me-downs. They were, I think, 2 or 3 sizes too big. But
were they main strips? Were the old main strips you were getting?
Well, they certainly felt that way because of the size of them. But I think, like anything in the women's game, especially in the early stages, we didn't mind. We were actually so thankful that we were wearing the club crest and we had the club colours. So regardless of the size, as I said, we were extremely thankful. But I think that just shows the journey and the progression, because fast forward to the present day and we're wearing bespoke strips, bespoke training kits. So yeah, the evolution and the progression's been absolutely massive.
And just one final question on that, Joelle, because I remember when Sir Clive Woodward took over the England rugby team 2 decades ago now, and was building them towards winning the World Cup in 2003. One of his big mantras is, you've got to feel it to be it. So they travelled first class all around the world. They had special mattresses put to the hotels. Did it make a huge difference wearing a bespoke kit that wasn't a hand-me-down, wasn't a second-generation old men's kit? Did you actually feel a professional footballer, part of the Hibs setup, when you actually got kit and technology that was made for you?
Yeah, I think when you get kind of things like that, resources that are bespoke, specific, you feel empowered. you feel respected. And I think it was moments like them that certainly we were very proud. I think as a club as well, because as a club we pride ourselves on being pioneers in not only the women's game but in the game in general. So I think those moments were certainly landmarks, but we don't want to kind of finish there. We accept it, we're proud of it, and we want to push on and see what more we can do to kind of progress on and off the pitch.
It's obviously a crazy achievement to do. You would have told me when I first became professional football that I'd have a chance to be the highest defender in the UK. I wouldn't have really believed it. But it's obviously down to how Rangers lets me play, and down to my teammates that I've played with over the years that have contributed to my goals.
Moving on, Rangers captain James Tavernier became the highest scoring defender in British football history, not just Scottish history, British history. 131st career goal coming last weekend in the 3-1 win at Ibrox over Hibs. In the podcast yesterday, Ryan McGowan, former Rangers midfielder Kevin Thompson says that he doesn't think he gets the credit that he deserves. Do you go along with that?
I can see where he's coming from, in terms of, I think people have just accepted that he's going to get 15 to 20 goals a season, whereas if a right back from somewhere else goes on and scores that amount of goals, it becomes big news. But you can almost go back to the superstars of the game when they were scoring 50, 60 goals a season. People just start to think, oh, Tavernier will score 15 or 20 goals a season without actually realising, one, that some strikers don't do that, and two, he's consistently done that for a number of seasons now. So I don't think there's anyone in Scotland that would say he's not a good player or that he's not a top quality fullback and a top quality Rangers captain. But I do think that people forget that how hard it is to score goals in the Premier League and how consistently he's done that to now be the all-time record scorer, like you said.
If that is the case, then, Joelle, why is there still almost a pause when we speak about James Tavernier in his record? Because, as Ryan says, scoring that amount of goals at any club, in any position, is a good record. But at right back, that's phenomenal.
It's unbelievable, because I think when you think of his position, his primary purpose is obviously to stop Rangers conceding goals, but when you think of him at the top end of the pitch, his record is remarkable. And it's not just set pieces, it's not just free kicks or penalties. I think you saw at the weekend his versatility and the goals that he's scoring. He's arriving at the back post, meeting the ball on the volley. So I think for me it's unbelievable. And when you think back to when Rangers first purchased him for, I think it was round about £250,000, the return they've got on their money, not just in his goals, but as a person, as a captain, as a leader, is tenfold.
Well, let's go through those statistics. So it's 131 career goals, but for Rangers, he's got 122 goals and 127 assists. So what's that? That's almost £1,000 a goal and an assist with that transfer fee. You've played against him, Ryan, plenty of times. What's Tavernier like to go up against?
He's just a very, very good player. That's probably the biggest compliment you can get. See, when as a defender, when you see him lining up to whip in a cross, you know that 9 times out of 10 it's going to go into the exact area that he's wanting to do. As a defender, you're reacting off his cross, the movement of the strikers, but you know that if he's going to put a ball in, it's going to be of high quality and a real purpose. And like Joelle said, I think some people get caught up in this whole, fixation of the Rangers penalties, and he scored a lot of penalties, Rangers get a lot of penalties during the season, so he's a penalty taker. Of course, he's going to get 10 plus goals, but you look at the run that they had on when they went into the Europa League final. I think he was top goal scorer for that competition, and they had a couple of penalties there, but like Joel said, it was getting in at the back post, being in the right place at the right time. He times that run into the box incredibly well, and yeah, I can understand what Kevin is saying in terms of, people in Scotland should, or, opposition fans, I think, most opposition fans, I think, respect them and, think he's a top quality player. But I can see why why a few people kind of turn their nose up at that record, considering, what he's done.
You're listening to the Scottish Football Podcast.
Finally, a quick look at the battle to avoid 11th place in the Premiership. And Ryan, I'm sorry to say,
way to bring the
that's where
conversation down.
We focus on you. Yeah, well, we focus so much on Ross County and Aberdeen, and now all of a sudden, in the last few days, St Johnstone has loomed large. Are you, as a player, were you ever buying into almost the narrative that the Ross County Aberdeen match at the weekend was for 11th, or were you always concentrating on St Johnstone's position, and you knew how close you were to the relegation playoffs?
Yeah, I think we've known as a club since day one of the season that we would probably be there or thereabouts in terms of, you look at budgets and you look at the way that we started the season. It's a really hard league to get any type of points in. So we knew that until we were, mathematically safe, that is a worry for most clubs, like you said. Maybe not Aberdeen at the start of the season, but they'll know that they're in a relegation fight. And, we as a club definitely know that. But, we're big believers, and you can only control what you can control. We're not particularly looking at other results, but that is pretty hard to do. This is one of the first things that you check when you come back in, is to see how the teams in and around you have done. But yeah, we're under no illusions that we know that we're definitely in a relegation fight. I don't think we've been any higher than probably 9th throughout the whole season. So, we need to know that we need to be a lot more consistent than we have been throughout the season between now and the end of season. And, this is probably where the split becomes a relatively good thing, in terms of you can control who you're playing. Well, your teams in and around you, they turn into almost three-pointers, 6-pointers in terms of, you beat a team we play Ross County first game of the split, and it stays the same. We get a 4-point gap, with the 2-game swing with 4 or 5 games to go is a big thing. So, that's something that we know is coming up, and we have to prepare well with. And I think that's what we're probably disappointed with at the weekend. It's probably one of our best. Well, not best. It was a much, much better performance for the whole 90 minutes, and we've come away with a 2-1 defeat. But we know that we have to be more consistent, and that's sort of the bare minimum between now and the end of the season, is to put in performances like that.
And I know it was a defeat, but the bright spot from a St Johnstone point of view was Adama Sidibe's strike.
It's flicked on. Sidibe's there. Sensational from Adama Sidibe, who scores his first goal in St Johnstone colours, and what a way to score it!
I mean, if you heard him speak about anything else in the last 48 hours, is that overhead kick? Has he gone on a bit about it?
No, to be fair, he's quite a shy boy, so he's not said too much. I just don't know how he broke his back. I couldn't even jump that high, let alone it was just, it was a really good goal, and I think his all-round play was something that it was probably his best all-round performance, and topped off with a goal. So, he was full of confidence yesterday, and we'll need him to be firing on all cylinders between now and the end of the season to get us a few goals.
And can you take the confidence of a moment like that and the brilliance of the goal? Does that help you prepare for the Hibs game this weekend, which again becomes a vital match for you?
Yeah, a little bit. I think when you're playing and you know that players can do that type of thing, kind of score an unbelievable goal out of nothing, it does give you that sense, or that little bit of confidence of, we do carry a little bit of a goal threat. He can do something out of the ordinary to score us a goal. And we have, in recent years, we have a relatively good, a good record at Easter Road. But we didn't do Hibs any favours at the weekend. I've had a few messages off my Hibs friends to say, they would have preferred us to beat Dundee at the weekend so that they could stay in the top 6. So, there's all to play for at the weekend. Hibs will be wanting to win to try and get back into that top 6, and we'll be desperate to win to try and move away from that playoff spot.
I just have a vision of you, Ryan, flicking through your phone book, and it's all categorised as my Hibs friends, my Hearts friends, my St Johnstone friends.
It's got little brackets with who to play support before I reply, just so I know. It gives me a little reminder.
You ever scored an overhead kick like that, Joelle?
Absolutely not. I don't even think I've tried it, to be fair, for fear of, 1, breaking my back, or 2, just not connecting. So, yeah, absolutely not.
I don't think there's a nicer sight in football. I mean, maybe apart from a goalkeeper making a fingertip top corner save, but an overhead kick with the power that was generated as well. I think it's still probably the jewel in any moment on a football pitch is to see something like that, the overhead kick. I think there should be a bonus written into contracts for every player that scores.
It should count as 2 goals. I think St Johnstone said.
2 goals, but there should also be a club fine if you try it and it goes spectacularly wrong. Listen, guys, we're going to leave it there. Ryan McGowan, thank you very much. Joelle Murray, well done. 500 matches. It's a fantastic achievement. It was remiss of me to even ask, what's next in your career?
I don't know. I think I always said that I would never put an age limit on retirement. So I'll go as long as my body allows me. But certainly when I do stop playing, I will look to kind of retain some sort of role within football. I obviously love the club. I love the game. So I think for me, I'd like to think I'll leave the game in a better place, but still be able to contribute to the progressive nature of it when I stop playing.
Yeah. You can't even hand your shirt down to the next generation because you all get new shirts now.
I know. I've spoke to the club about the number. It's a number I've worn throughout my career. So to see somebody else wearing that when I stop playing will be difficult. So I've asked them to retire the number, Phil. So I think that fell on deaf ears, but we'll see. I'll keep pushing it.
We're going to start a campaign.
Retire I was going to say, number. I think we should start a campaign to get that.
Joelle, we wish you well for the rest of the season. Ryan, you too, from a St Johnstone point of view, we wish you well. And thank you for joining us this morning. Remember, new episodes every weekday morning, so you can get your daily dose of Scottish football bright and early with us. Download us, subscribe to us, get us at BBC Sounds. For now, though, thanks for joining us, and we'll speak again soon.
Sacked in the Morning is back.
I got the ball and I put it on the spot, and as I got up, it was literally the best feeling I've ever had. And believe me, I spent a lot of money on feelings in my life.
Joining Craig Levine and myself, Amy Irons, will be some of football's top managers, best characters and most colourful players as we reveal what exactly goes on inside the dugouts and dressing rooms up and down the country.
We had a lad the other week and I saw him, he was playing, the first half he was playing the opposite wing. He had a set of gloves on and short sleeves. And I thought to myself, I can't wait till next half till he comes near me.
As the manager comes in, he smashes the door open, the jacket's off, shirt sleeves are up. We're thinking, here we go. We're all nudging each other like school kids and giggling.
Sacked in the Morning. Listen now on BBC Sounds.